Hello everybody, welcome back. In this video, we are going to be creating a version of your first homework assignment scene, which is your first project, which is going to be your snowman scene. It may feel at this point as if it is potentially too soon to already start working on, quote unquote real projects, considering all we've done so far is learn how to navigate the space, generate some primitives, and then assign materials to those primitives. But as you will see, and as I hope you will experience doing these early assignments, working just with primitives are it's a very useful limitation that encourages creativity among the among modelers. So let's go ahead and create a snowman scene. What is a snowman scene without an actual snowman in it? So the first thing I'm going to do is, let's go to create, polygon primitives, let's go ahead and go to sphere. Wonderful, we already have a sphere. I'm going to do a new thing. Actually, I'm going to do two new things here. First off, I'm going to show you real quick with this outliner. We have it here. It's a very useful resource. I would recommend you never hide this if you can help it. There's not really much reason to, in my opinion, but if you wanted to, if you wanted more space in the viewport to work, then you can just click right here, and this will hide the outliner for you. So if you wanted some more space here to just work in, then feel free to get rid of the outliner. I'm going to keep it because again, I find this to be a very useful resource for me personally. So next new thing I'm going to show you is how to duplicate an object. It's all well and good to just know how to go to polymodeling and spawn in sphere after sphere after sphere after sphere. I'm going to get rid of these other spheres. Or how to go into create polygon primitives and get your stuff in that way. But sometimes you put in some work on an object and you just don't want to have to do that work all over again. So case in point, before I create a second sphere here, I'm just going to take this this first sphere and I'm going to assign a new material. Bring this in. Let's make it a Lambert. I'm going to make it the color white because this is going to be snow. Snow underscore MAT. Do I want to do anything with this? No, pure. That's the color I want. That's the color I'm going to stick with. Perfect. All right, I'm going to change this back to channel box. Sometimes you put in work on an object. In this case, I added a material, and I don't want to have to keep assigning the material to every new sphere I make moving forward. So now that I have this sphere, now that it has the Lambert material, the snow material, I am just going to press Control D to copy it automatically. And, now we just have a copy of the previous sphere that I made. Any changes that I made to this first sphere, like, for instance, a material, it's just automatically applied. And let's do it again, Control D, make a third one, and there we go. We have 3 spheres. We already have a base foundation for our snowman scene. Excellent. We have our base body. Let's go ahead and make some adjustments to it so it actually looks more, like an actual snowman, because snowmen are typically not made with 3 identically sized snowballs. Typically, we have a big base. In this case, I'm freestyling it, but you can also just come up here to the scale X, Y, and Z and just change this to a value like 1.5. And then the middle one can be a little smaller than that, but not that much smaller. Let's go there. I'm just going to freestyle it for this one. You don't have to be exact. And for the head, maybe a little bit smaller, actually. Not that much smaller, though, like that. Okay, let's move. Adjust the movement. All I did, by the way, was just select a sphere, then hold Shift to select the top sphere, so I select both at the same time. Move this up so it makes a little more sense. There we go. That's a more proportionally appropriate snowman body, I think. Next thing I want to do is generate a cone. So let's go ahead and create a cone here. And let's see, let's bring it up, let's bring it out. There it is. I'm going to press E to go to rotate. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Let's use R to scale uniformly at first. Next, I'm going to go to orthographic view. Notice how I am working, by the way. I'm jumping all over the place and looking at this from many angles. Scale non-uniformly like that. Place like this. That's pretty good. It's pretty centerish. We'll make it a little bit imperfect moving forward. But notice how I'm working, how I'm moving the camera all over the place so I can see how this looks in every angle, because we are working with 3D objects. We want to see how it looks from every possible angle. Next, I'm going to go ahead and let's assign a new material. It's not going to be snow, of course. What is a snowman without a carrot nose? So let's make this another Lambert. I'm going to make this orange. Let's go to orange using the color wheel and square to make a nice bright orange. Look at that. It's pretty good. I'm going to call this carrot underscore MAT, just so we have that organized. In case I need to use it in the future, which I may if I want to have multiple snowmen in the scene. It's pretty good. Good. Perfectly placed, I think. All right, next up, let's work on eyes and maybe a mouth. Oh, no, not maybe a mouth, probably a mouth. Eyes and a mouth, and maybe buttons as well. Buttons would also be nice, but we can work on the buttons afterwards since there's other things that I want to do with the snowman. First, let's go ahead and generate another sphere. We can use an original sphere this time since this is going to be different from the body. Let's make this small. I'm going to press, actually, instead of pressing Control D, I can also just go to Edit and duplicate if I want to. Although Control D is the shortcut, and it's the faster way of doing it, so. Just wanted to show you there was another way of copying if you wanted to. Little eyes there. Let's go back to the front orthographic view. Notice I am just jumping from view to view to view, as you should. Control D. Three. It's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but most human-made art should not be perfectly symmetrical, to be honest. The best kind of art always takes time to build, always takes time to put together. You don't want to rush it. Let's embed it a little bit. Well, actually, let's see how it looks in 3D before I make that decision. Yeah, we should embed them a little bit more. So I'm going to select this one and then shift select this one at the same time and embed them both in. There we go. Nice little eyes and smile all created. What else would I like to add? I mentioned the buttons for the body, but I'm going to do something else with the body in a bit, so let's not focus on that yet. Let's actually make a hat. I am going to want to move this around as a unit, this whole hat as its own thing. And in order to do that, I'm actually going to introduce a concept that we're going to go into more depth for next week's material, and that's going to be grouping. So I'm going to select the main part of the hat and the brim of the hat, and I am going to press on my keyboard Control G and make this a group here. So we can see this group is now this hat here. And I'm also going to do one other thing that we're going to start covering next week, which is going to be modifying the center pivot. That's going to be important, especially when you make groups yourself. You're going to want to center the pivot yourself. And that'll be good for now. So we have our snowman here. It's not bad. We have all the basic components for the snowman, the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the hat. But there isn't that much personality here. We have all the components, but they're all, just placed very, very obviously. Let's try to give the snowman a little bit of personality, and it's not that difficult to give it personality. We don't have to commit ourselves to that much work to it. We just have to give this a little bit of thought. So, for example, we could take this hat and maybe put it on the side a little bit, you know? Maybe it's tipping back a bit. All right, that's already a little bit more life. How about we take the body piece and maybe we move it over to the side just a bit. There we go, already. A little bit more lively of a snowman here compared to what we had just a couple of seconds ago. Let's take the nose and let's maybe dip it down. You know, maybe gravity is causing it to start to dip down a little bit. Maybe we'll push it in a little bit more. There we go. Already, a little bit more life, a little bit more personality to the snowman. Let's take a look at the mouth. And actually, let's go ahead and 5, 6, selected all of them. Let's Control G to make this all a group. Let's go to Modify and Center Pivot for this. And what do I want to do with this? Maybe do I want to make it lopsided? I could make it lopsided if I wanted to. Something a little different that way. If you want to select a group, by the way, you don't select them from here in the viewport. You select the group here from the outliner. So I'm going to select the whole group and maybe just push this out a little bit. And maybe, what else should I do? Oh, you know what? Maybe, actually, I know what would improve this more. Maybe if I took the mouth and I'm going to select everything except for the center sphere. And let's delete it for now. And let's take this sphere and let's get it out of this group by holding the middle mouse button and just pushing it out. I don't need this group anymore, so I'm going to delete that from the outliner. I have this. I'm going to just scale it up. Get sort of a different expression from a snowman here. There we go. Alrighty, feeling very, very different to what it was just a couple of minutes ago. Not too bad. I'm going to make a few more changes and then I'm going to cut. That's enough for now for a demo. In between cuts, I just went ahead and added in a few more details, namely twig arms and a bow tie. And yeah, the snowman already feels like it has more personality to it. I did make more groups, namely a group for the twig arms, groups for the twig arms, a group for the bow tie, and this original group that I showed you before for the hat, I already got rid of that group for the mouth, but I have a new mouth here, so I'm actually going to go ahead and grab all of these, and again, Control G, modify, center the pivot there, perfect. Okay. I think for demo purposes, I'm basically done with the snowman. I want to move on to other parts of the scene. So let's go ahead and finish up my work here in the outliner, because now that I have the snowman here, I want to be able to properly move it around the scene and place it where I want to eventually. So I need to put this all together as one thing that I can just move around, and also play with the individual pieces if I have to in the future. So let's see. I'm going to take this original group. I'm going to rename this group just by double clicking on it in the outliner. I'm going to name it Hat. And this group here, I'm going to double click and rename Bow Tie. This one, I'm going to arm left. This is arm right. And this group is mouth. Oh, I put moth. Mouth. There we go. I'm going to take the 3 buttons here. I'm going to press Control G again to group them. All them buttons. I'm going to modify, center the pivot for this one as well. And let's see, everything else. I mean, I can keep grouping things that I want to, and in fact, maybe I should. So I'll go ahead and group these as Control G and group these as eyes. Modify, center, perfect. I have my nose, the body. I'm going to keep this as it is, and now I'm just going to marquee select everything, but just clicking and dragging. And I am going to Control G. Oh, actually, no, not that way. Oops, what I meant to do was select everything within the outliner, including all the groups. Because marquee selecting everything here just selects all the individual pieces, not the groups. So now I have everything selected in the outliner, Control G. And I'm going to call this whole group Snowman. And this group, as you can see, if we open it up with the plus sign here, has our pieces of the body, the nose, the hat group, the bow tie group, the arm left group, the arm right group, the mouth group, the buttons group, and the eyes group. And altogether, it is the snowman, so I can play with the pieces individually if I need to change them around, but I can also just grab the whole thing. I can scale if I want to. I can rotate it if I want to. And also I can move it around if I want to, all as one piece, which is perfect. So I'm going to get this back to regular scale. I'm going to put these back in place. What I am going to do is just move it out of the way over here for now, because now we need to make more stuff, because snowman's great, but that's not the only thing that should be in the scene. Let's make a tree. So let's see, for a tree, let's make a cylinder. And let's make a cone. And let's make the cone bigger. And already, if we want to, this can be a tree as is. This is already enough for a tree, but I want to make it a little bit more interesting than that. So for now, before we move on, though, let's go ahead and add in some materials to give this some color and life. Let's add Lambert. I want to make this green, but I want to make this sort of a darker green, like maybe like this. Sure. And for this one, I'm actually going to cheat and give this the twig material. So assign existing material, give the twig. And actually, I'm going to, just for organization purposes, this isn't a twig, this is wood, so I'm just going to rename this the wood material. And make it maybe even a little bit darker than that, which will affect the arms as well. Let's actually show that off. As you can see, the arms have the same material, so any changes that I make to the base of the tree will also happen to the arms, which is good. What I want. All right, but we can make this tree a little bit more interesting, I mentioned, so let's see, let's make this a little smaller. And do the same thing we did with the snowman. So Control D, make sort of a bigger middle here. There we go. Already we're starting to get something a little bit more interesting, and I can push this even further like I did with the snowman. I can do some nice rotation stuff to get sort of a nice weirder shape here. And start getting something a little bit more interesting like that. Let's rotate this bottom piece too. Just so that we have something that's interesting from look at from all angles. And let's make this tree. I'm going to select all these, a group. I'm going to call this tree. We can make a duplicate, so I'm just going to have the group selected here in the outliner. Control D, that makes a duplicate group, which is what I want. And like I said before with the group, you can rotate the whole thing together, you can move the whole thing together, and you can also scale the whole thing together. Not just regular scaling, but also non-uniform scaling. So we can make something weirder like this tree. And maybe we can copy this, maybe we can copy the original tree again, and this time we can make something like this. Nice, small, weird shapes to start giving some variety for minimal work, you know? That is the thing that you want to do as a modeler. You want to work smarter as opposed to harder. So if you can take just one model of a tree and then scale it up to create a different kind of looking tree, and then scale it down to create a different kind of looking tree, and then maybe we can take this tree again and duplicate it and create a version of the tree that is sort of squished in. And already we have lots of different types of trees that we can work with and place in our scene as needed. So that's excellent. What else do we need for this scene? The other main thing we need for the scene is going to be a ground. So let's create a plane. And let's make this, scale it up. And we're going to assign this plane a material. An existing material. I don't have to work harder, I just have to work smarter. It's going to be the snow material. I'm going to get rid of the grid. And now that I have the base elements here, snowman, some trees, I can start working and expanding out the scene some more. Again, just using base primitives. So I'm going to do another cut until I have something a little bit more completed. Okay, a little bit of time passed by, about 15-ish minutes. I went ahead and finished creating my scene. I added a few more trees, scaled them, some of them really small to make them look like they're in a distance, added some spheres to act as clouds, gave them a cloud material, made it very transparent, a second plane here. This one with a sky blue Lambert. Let's actually rename this sky underscore matte. So we have that organized. Added a few hills. Changed the positioning of my snowman, my first snowman's arms a little bit in order to tell a better story with this second snowman that I created here, who has been tossed to the ground and is hoping to get their hat back, but clearly that's not happening considering this one is very happy having the hat. So there you go. That is a scene. Let's talk about actually submitting this and rendering this out, which will be how you actually submit assignments like this moving forward. In order to properly render, you need to properly compose your scene. And by composing your scene, I mean that you need to have an angle in mind that you want to take and that you basically want to treat your camera as an invisible, as like an actual invisible camera in order to take a snapshot of the scene. So for me, I built my scene to be to have its picture taken from this angle, just about, right? Which means I don't care what happens outside of these borders. So I don't care what happens out here, in which case there's nothing. I don't care what's over here, in which case there's nothing. I don't even care what's going on back here necessarily. Like look at this arm right here. This arm is not even properly connected to, it's not even properly connected as it should be. It doesn't matter though, because for the composition of my scene, I'm going to be taking the picture from this direction, and you don't even notice that issue here because the arm is pointed up, which is what I want in order to tell the story of the snowman pleading to the other snowman to give it its hat back, and it's not going to. So I have my scene properly composed and properly set up, and now I want to take a render of it. How do we do that? Well, up here we have a few clapboards, Hollywood-style clapboards. We have this one here. These are render settings. You want to enter here first and make sure you're rendering using Maya software. It's very possible you're rendering using Arnold Renderer, which we can get into in later weeks. But for now, for the beginning, we're just going to keep it simple and just select Maya software right here. And we are going to close. And now we're going to select this blank clapboard here, which is, if we hover over for a second, rendering the current frame, which is how we take a snapshot of our scene from the angle that we're currently looking at, which again is what I want to do. So we're going to go ahead and click it. And there is our render. We can play around with these two sliders if we want to. This one, I believe, is exposure. And this one, I believe, is the gamma. Come on, show me. There we go, gamma. So we can play around with these if we want to make it a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. Just about, in order to emphasize the fact that it is a basically clear day with only a few clouds in the sky. And now I'm going to select File, Save Image. And I am going to make sure that I have selected here Color Managed Image, View Transform Embedded. If you select Raw Image, the image is going to come out a lot darker than it should. So make sure you have Color Managed Image selected here. And we're going to save to the desktop. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Week 2 Snowman _demo. And we can save this either as a PNG or as a JPEG. We'll get into why it's important to save as a JPEG in certain cases. In this case, I'm going to save it as a PNG. It's fine. But there's going to be certain specific cases moving down the road where you're going to want to save as JPEGs, and we'll get into that. But for the most part, it should be fine saving it as a PNG here. But if you encounter any problems, then instead save as a JPEG. I'm going to save as a PNG, though, so I'm going to save. It's going to save to these dimensions. These are the default dimensions for Maya software rendering, 960 by 540. We will get into in later videos how to alter this into something like traditional HD, 1920 by 1080. But for now, this size is fine for a first-time render. So I'm going to close because we've already rendered this. I want to make sure I save. That's another thing I did in between cuts. I went ahead and saved this. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this because I already saved it. I already saved as, so I don't have to keep saving as. I'm just going to save. And I'm going to minimize. There's the image I just took. Let's go ahead and crack it open. And there we go. All right. I hope you extracted some value from this video. I look forward to seeing your creations. Next week, we're going to start working with groups and hierarchies. See you then. Bye-bye.